Alarms blared through the quarters of the Odyssey as Marcus Reed sprinted against time. The ship's hull groaned under enemy fire, each impact sending shudders through the reinforced metal floor beneath his boots. Emergency lights bathed everything in crimson, casting long shadows as he pushed his aging body to its limit. Behind him, explosions tore through bulkheads. Ahead, the command center, and the only hope for two civilizations on the brink of mutual destruction. He paused at the sealed door chest, heaving the weight of his 67 years suddenly heavy on his shoulders. The identification scanner bathed his weathered face in blue light. Only one person can stop two civilizations from destroying each other, he whispered to himself, and it's an old man they both underestimate. The scanner recognized him, and as the massive door began to slide open, Marcus touched the silver medallion hidden beneath his uniform. Serafina, I'll keep my promise. The routine maintenance check at New Mexico's Deep Space Listening Array should have been unremarkable. Just another day for Marcus Reed, relegated to what most considered a pre-retirement position, a place to put the aging technician until his time was up. The massive radio telescopes stretched across the desert landscape, silent sentinels listening to the whispers of distant stars. Marcus moved methodically between equipment banks, his experienced hands working through calibrations with practiced ease. Hey, old-timer, you about done down there? Some of us have actual signals to monitor. The voice came from above, where Ryan Chen, a communications specialist half Marcus's age, leaned over the railing. The younger man's casual disrespect was nothing new, just another reminder that the world had moved on, leaving men like Marcus behind. Almost finished, Marcus replied, keeping his voice even. He'd learned long ago that responding to provocation only invited more. 40 years of military and scientific service reduced to being the old-timer who fixed equipment others deemed beneath them. As he adjusted the final calibration on the auxiliary receiver, something caught his attention. A pattern in the background noise, almost imperceptible but distinct to his trained ear. 7 rapid pulses followed by a 2.3-second pause, then repeating. Most would dismiss it as random stellar interference, but Marcus recognized intention when he heard it. I've got something here, he called up, unable to hide the excitement in his voice. Ryan sighed dramatically. Another deep space ghost, Reed. This isn't the military. We don't report every piece of cosmic static. Marcus ignored the jab. He'd weathered far worse during his time as a military cryptographer in the Gulf War and Afghanistan. Instead, he focused on rerouting the signal to his workstation, fingers flying across the keyboard with surprising dexterity for their age. The pattern was holding steady. 7 pulses, 2.3 seconds of silence, repeat. Not random, not natural. A message. By the time his shift ended, Marcus had downloaded the complete signal pattern. The facility had emptied, leaving him alone with the humming equipment and the mysterious transmission from deep space. He should report it immediately to Director Harrington, but experience had taught him caution. Without concrete evidence, he'd be dismissed as a desperate old man seeking one last moment of relevance before retirement. The drive to his small house outside Albuquerque gave Marcus time to think. His home stood isolated against the desert landscape, much like himself, weathered but enduring. Inside, photographs chronicled a life of service and sacrifice. A young lieutenant in desert fatigues. A wedding photo. Marcus and Elizabeth both smiling with the certainty that they had forever ahead of them. The military commendation for the classified operation in Basra that had saved his entire unit, but left him with hearing damage and the specialized implant that now enhanced certain frequencies. He hadn't meant to become alone. Life had simply taken everything piece by piece. Elizabeth lost to a rare form of cancer 15 years ago. No children. Most friends either gone or scattered. All that remained was work, and even that was slipping away as retirement loomed. The signal data transferred to his home system, Marcus began the painstaking process of analysis. Hours blended into days as he applied every decryption technique from his military days. Sleep became an afterthought. Meals forgotten. The pattern revealed complexity beyond random cosmic noise. Mathematical sequences buried within frequencies, a hallmark of intelligence. On the third night, exhausted but unwilling to stop, Marcus made the breakthrough. The primary carrier wave contained embedded data, coordinates to a star system 32 light-years distant in the outer edge of the Orion Spur. And within that, encoded in a mathematical language that transcended the need for common vocabulary, 7 words of I am Serafina, Queen of Astral. I'm alone. The discovery should have brought elation, but it brought a heavier burden. Proof of intelligent life beyond Earth, the most significant discovery in human history, rested in the hands of a man most had already forgotten. And there was more, a second message hidden deeper. I cannot sleep alone in eternal darkness. Will you come? Morning found Marcus bleary-eyed but determined as he entered Director Diana Harrington's office at the array facility. Tall and imposing with steel-gray hair pulled into a severe bun, Harrington had built her reputation dismantling false alien contact claims. She looked up from her tablet with thinly veiled annoyance. This better be important, Reed. I've got the Pentagon calling about budget cuts. Marcus placed his data drive on her desk. I've discovered and decoded a non-terrestrial transmission. It contains coordinates and a message. Harrington's expression shifted from annoyance to pity, somehow worse. Not this again. How many times have we been through this cosmic background? Radiation creates patterns that seem meaningful. Remember the pulsar you thought was a distress signal last year? This is different. Marcus pulled up the decoded sequence on her monitor. 7 pulses, 2.3-second pause. Perfect mathematical sequence. And I've isolated the embedded data, coordinates to a specific star system and a clear message. She studied the screen, her frown deepening. And you spent 3 days on this instead of your assigned duties. This facility isn't your personal SETI project, Reed. Just look at the decryption, Diana. This isn't noise. She scanned the report with practiced efficiency. Even if this were a signal, and I'm not conceding it is, these coordinates point to empty space. Our most recent surveys show nothing of interest in that sector. The surveys are outdated, the signal is real. Marcus felt desperation rising. What if we're ignoring the most important discovery in human history? Harrington removed her glasses, suddenly looking tired. Marcus, I've respected your service record and experience, but this obsession with finding something out there, we all know you've been struggling since Elizabeth passed. This isn't healthy. The personal reference stung like a physical blow. This has nothing to do with Elizabeth, he said, voice tight. You're 6 months from retirement. Don't force my hand on an early medical discharge. She slid the drive back across the desk. Take the weekend off, clear your head. On Monday, I expect you back at your assigned tasks, nothing more. Marcus left the office clutching the drive. Harrington's dismissal wasn't unexpected, but the sting of defeat felt sharper this time. In the corridor, he nearly collided with Kelly Zhang, a recent engineering graduate who had joined the facility 3 months prior. Unlike most of the younger staff, Kelly had shown Marcus respect, occasionally seeking his advice on equipment maintenance. Dr. Reed, are you all right? She asked, noticing his expression. I'm fine, he replied automatically. Then making a split-second decision, he added, Actually, Kelly, do you have a moment? I could use a second opinion on something. Her curiosity piqued. Kelly followed Marcus to his workstation. Unlike the sleek terminals used by the research team, Marcus's area contained older equipment meticulously maintained. He connected his drive and brought up the signal analysis. What am I looking at? Kelly asked, leaning closer. Possibly the most important transmission ever received by humanity, Marcus said, allowing himself to hope that fresh eyes might see what Harrington refused to acknowledge. Kelly studied the screen intently, her expression shifting from polite interest to genuine fascination. These patterns, they're too ordered for natural phenomena. And the embedded data, this is incredible. You believe it's artificial. The mathematical sequence is unmistakable, she confirmed. 7 pulses, 2.3-second pause. It repeats with perfect precision. Nature doesn't work like that. She pointed to his decryption. And you've extracted coordinates and a message. Marcus nodded, relief washing through him. The coordinates point to a star system in the Orion Spur. The message identifies the sender as Seraphina, Queen of Astral, and indicates she's alone. Astral could be the name of their world or civilization, Kelly mused. Why wouldn't Director Harrington take this seriously? She thinks I'm chasing ghosts, a desperate old man looking for meaning before retirement. Kelly's expression hardened with determination that reminded Marcus of himself decades ago. Then we'll need to prove her wrong. The transmission source? Can we confirm it's coming from these coordinates? The equipment here isn't precise enough for absolute confirmation, Marcus admitted. We'd need access to multiple arrays for triangulation. My doctoral advisor at MIT works with the Radio Astronomy Consortium. She might help us get verification without going through official channels. Kelly's eyes sparkled with excitement. This could change everything, Dr. Reed. For the first time in years, Marcus felt the weight of isolation lighten. "Call me Marcus," he said. The weekend passed in a blur of activity. Kelly's connection at MIT provided backdoor access to data from 3 separate radio telescope arrays. Working from Marcus's home, they confirmed the transmission originated precisely from the coordinates in the decoded message, a star system where official surveys showed nothing remarkable. "The surveys must be wrong," Kelly said, cross-referencing the data, "or whatever's there wasn't visible during the last observation period." Marcus was about to respond when his secure phone, a relic from his military days that few knew still functioned, began to vibrate. The screen showed a name he hadn't seen in years, General William Hayes. "I need to take this," he said, stepping into the next room. "Hayes, it's been a long time." "Not long enough if you're still getting into trouble, Reed." The general's gruff voice brought memories flooding back. Sand-swept military bases, covert operations, the camaraderie of men who trusted each other with their lives. "Got some interesting chatter about you accessing multiple radio telescope arrays. Care to explain why my old cryptography expert is suddenly interested in deep space?" Marcus hesitated only briefly before deciding on truth. "I've intercepted and decoded a non-terrestrial transmission, sir. It contains coordinates and a message from someone identifying as Serafina, Queen of Astral. My facility director thinks I'm imagining things." A long silence followed. "You're certain about this?" "Absolutely. I've verified the source location from multiple arrays. Whatever sent this message is exactly where they claim to be, 32 light years out in the Orion Spur." Another pause. "I'm flying to Albuquerque tonight. Have your evidence ready. And Reed, keep this quiet. If you're right, this goes beyond anything we've prepared for." The call ended, leaving Marcus stunned. Hayes had been his commanding officer during the classified Basra operation, the mission that had earned Marcus his commendations and scars. If anyone could bypass bureaucracy and take immediate action, it was Hayes. "Everything okay?" Kelly asked when he returned. "We may have just found our way forward," Marcus replied. "How do you feel about meeting a 3-star general?" General Hayes arrived at Marcus's home shortly after midnight, accompanied by 2 aides who remained outside. Despite his 70 years, Hayes maintained the commanding presence that had made him legendary within military intelligence circles. His weathered face had gained new lines, but his eyes remained sharp as he reviewed the evidence Marcus and Kelly presented. "This transmission, when did it start?" Hayes asked. "First detected 4 days ago, but based on signal analysis, it's been broadcasting for at least 3 weeks, Marcus explained. Hayes studied the star chart showing the transmission's origin. "And conventional surveys show nothing at these coordinates." "Nothing significant," Kelly confirmed, "but our observations confirm the signal is coming from exactly these coordinates." The general nodded slowly. "I've seen enough." He looked directly at Marcus. "I'm activating contingency protocol Echo 9. Marcus's eyes widened. Echo 9 was a classified response plan for confirmed extraterrestrial contact, developed decades ago but never implemented. "Sir, that would require presidential authorization already obtained." Hayes's expression was grim. "The moment your access to multiple arrays flagged in our systems, this became a matter of national security. The president has authorized immediate implementation of Echo 9 protocols, including the assembly of a first contact team." "You're talking about sending a mission," Kelly said, comprehension dawning. "The Odyssey project has been waiting for exactly this scenario," Hayes confirmed. "A deep space vessel with experimental quantum drive technology capable of reaching your coordinates in months rather than decades." Marcus felt his heart rate accelerate. "You're assembling a mission to these coordinates to make contact." "The mission was always the plan if we confirmed intelligent extraterrestrial communication," Hayes said. "What I need to know now, Reed, is whether you're prepared to join it." The question hit like a physical blow. "Join? Sir, I'm 67 years old, and the only person who's established communication with this Queen Serafina. The message was directed to you, Reed. Will you come?" Those were the words. "How did you know that part of the message?" Marcus asked, stunned. "I never mentioned the second transmission." Hayes's expression remained impassive. "Because 3 other listening stations picked up the same transmission, but only fragments. You're the only one who decoded the complete message. Whatever this Serafina wants, she's asking for you specifically." The implication settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Kelly broke the silence. "I want to join the mission too. My engineering expertise with the new quantum communication systems could be invaluable." Hayes studied her briefly. "Ms. Zhang, your background check is still processing, but your qualifications are impressive. Consider yourself provisionally approved pending final security clearance. He turned back to Marcus. I need your answer, Reed. This mission launches in 2 weeks with or without you. But something tells me our chances of successful contact improve significantly with you aboard. Marcus thought of his empty house, his impending retirement, the years stretching ahead without purpose. Then he remembered the transmission, the loneliness embedded in those simple words. I cannot sleep alone in eternal darkness. Will you come? I'll go, Marcus said simply. Hayes nodded once satisfied. Pack essentials only. A transport will collect you tomorrow at Oaks 100. Welcome back to service, Reed. The next morning, a sleek military transport delivered Marcus and Kelly to a hidden facility in Nevada's desert. What appeared from the outside as another nondescript government testing site revealed itself as the headquarters of humanity's most ambitious space initiative. The Odyssey sat within an enormous underground hangar, a sleek vessel unlike any conventional spacecraft. Its hull gleamed with a material that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously, creating an almost fluid appearance. At nearly 300 meters long, it dwarfed anything currently in Earth's orbit. Magnificent, isn't she? The voice belonged to Dr. Eliza Crawford, the stern-faced director of the Extraterrestrial Contact Division, the culmination of 30 years of reverse-engineered technology and quantum physics breakthroughs. Reverse-engineered? Kelly asked, unable to hide her surprise. Crawford's expression remained neutral. That information is classified beyond your current clearance, Ms. Zhang. What matters is that Odyssey can reach your coordinates in approximately 4 months using quantum fold technology. Marcus studied the ship with growing apprehension. 4 months to travel 32 light years. That's impossible by any conventional understanding of physics. Conventional understanding has evolved, Dr. Reed. Crawford led them toward a briefing room adjacent to the hangar. The quantum fold drive creates temporary corridors through space-time. Not quite a wormhole, but similar in principle. Inside the briefing room, they met the core expedition team, Commander Michael Shepard, a decorated Navy officer with test pilot experience, Dr. Layla Nadari, xenobiology specialist, Under Thomas Chen, quantum physics engineer, and Lieutenant Commander James Warren, head of security. The assembled group represented the elite of military and scientific expertise, making Marcus acutely aware of his age and obsolete skill set. Commander Shepard, a man in his early 50s, with close-cropped gray hair, and the rigid posture of career military, eyed Marcus with poorly concealed skepticism. To Reed, your reputation precedes you. As does yours, Commander, Marcus replied evenly. Shepard's file had been included in the briefing package provided during transport. Distinguished service record, multiple combat deployments known for strict adherence to protocol. The kind of officer who valued order and chain of command above all else. Let me be clear, Shepard continued. While your contribution in detecting this signal is appreciated, my responsibility is the safety of this vessel and crew. All decisions regarding mission parameters fall under my authority. Understood, Commander. I'm here as a communications specialist, nothing more. Shepard seemed satisfied with this acknowledgement of hierarchy. Good. The mission objectives are clear. Establish contact, assess potential threat level, and determine whether this Queen Serafina possesses technology or resources of strategic value to Earth. The remainder of the briefing outlined mission protocols, communication procedures, and contingency plans. Marcus noted the heavy emphasis on defense and containment strategies, revealing the underlying anxiety about the unknown that shaped the mission's approach. As the briefing concluded, Dr. Crawford addressed the team. You ship out in 10 days. Use this time to familiarize yourselves with the vessel and complete final mission preparations. This is humanity's first confirmed contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. The stakes could not be higher. The next week passed in a blur of medical examinations, equipment, familiarization, and intensive briefings. Marcus underwent extensive physical conditioning, pushing his aging body to its limits. The medical team administered experimental treatments to enhance his stamina and cellular regeneration, classified procedures reserved for high-value personnel in extreme circumstances. During a rare break between training sessions, Marcus found Kelly in one of the facility's observation lounges, staring at the Odyssey through reinforced glass as technicians swarmed over its hull, making final preparations. Having second thoughts, he asked, joining her at the window. Aren't you? She replied, not taking her eyes off the ship. 2 weeks ago, I was analyzing radio telescope data for my dissertation. Now I'm preparing to meet an alien queen. Marcus smiled slightly. When you put it that way, it does sound rather absurd. What do you think we'll find out there? Who is this Serafina, really? Someone alone, Marcus said softly, remembering the haunting words of the transmission. Someone reaching out across impossible distance because isolation became unbearable. Kelly studied him with sudden insight. You understand that feeling. It wasn't a question, and Marcus didn't treat it as one. They stood in comfortable silence until Lieutenant Commander Warren entered the lounge. Dr. Reed, Warren said, his tone professionally neutral. Director Crawford requests your presence in Communications Lab 3. They've received another transmission. Marcus followed Warren through the facility's labyrinthine corridors to a secured laboratory where Crawford waited alongside a team of analysts. Displayed on the main screen was a new signal pattern, similar to the original, but with subtle variations. It came through an hour ago, Crawford explained. Same source, same basic pattern, but with additional embedded data. We've been unable to decrypt the full message. Marcus studied the pattern, recognizing elements of his original decryption key. I'll need to modify the algorithm to account for the variations. Give me access to the system. Crawford nodded to a technician who vacated his workstation. Marcus took the seat and began adapting his decryption process fingers, moving with practiced precision across the keyboard. The room fell silent, save for the clicking of keys as everyone watched the aging cryptographer work. After 20 minutes, the algorithm completed its run, extracting a new message from the signal. The text appeared on screen, sending a chill through the room. Time grows short. Something approaches. The thing that destroyed my people. Make haste, Marcus Reed. She knows your name, Crawford said, voice barely above a whisper. How is that possible? We never transmitted a response. Marcus stared at the message, equally stunned. I don't know, but she's warning us about a threat. The same threat that apparently destroyed her civilization. Warren's expression darkened. Or she's trying to lure us into a trap. By warning us of danger, Kelly challenged, having slipped into the lab behind them. That makes no tactical sense. We're proceeding with the mission, Crawford declared, ending the debate. But security protocols will be upgraded to level 1. Commander Shepard needs to be briefed immediately. As the others dispersed to implement Crawford's directives, Marcus remained at the console studying the message. The personal address, his name specifically included, changed everything. This was no longer a generic plea to anyone listening, but a direct communication to him. Somewhere 32 light-years distant, a being called Serafina knew who had heard her call. The question that troubled him most wasn't how she knew his name, but why she had chosen him specifically. What did an alien queen see in a forgotten old man that made her reach across the stars? Launch day arrived with military precision and surprising little ceremony. The Odyssey crew, 28 specialists in total, boarded the vessel under cover of darkness. No public announcement, no press coverage, no acknowledgement that humanity was about to attempt its first interstellar journey. Marcus found his assigned quarters sparse but functional. A small viewport offered a view of the massive hangar doors above, currently sealed. The ship would exit through an underground tunnel leading to a disguised surface launch facility, one more layer of secrecy surrounding the mission. The intercom crackled to life with Commander Shepard's voice. All personnel secure for departure sequence. Launch in 15 minutes. Marcus secured his minimal personal effects and made his way to the bridge as ordered. The command center of Odyssey reflected its cutting-edge nature. Holographic displays instead of conventional screens, neural interface stations for critical systems, and an expansive forward viewport currently showing only the hangar wall. Commander Shepard occupied the central command station, surrounded by his senior officers. He acknowledged Marcus with a curt nod. Reed, you're assigned to communications monitoring during launch. Station 3. Yes, sir. Marcus took his position at the designated console where Kelly was already running pre-launch diagnostics on the communication array. Nervous? She asked quietly. Terrified, Marcus admitted with a small smile, but in a good way. The launch sequence proceeded with meticulous precision. The hangar doors above parted, revealing a night sky scattered with stars. The Odyssey rose silently on anti-gravity systems, emerging into the desert night, without the fire and thunder of conventional rockets. Within minutes, they had ascended beyond the atmosphere, Earth's curved horizon visible through the viewport. Orbital insertion complete, reported the navigation officer. All systems nominal. Prepare quantum fold drive, Shepard ordered. Plot course to target coordinates. A tense silence fell over the bridge as the quantum drive engineers initiated the experimental propulsion system. This would be its first full-scale deployment. Previous tests had been limited to short jumps within the solar system. Quantum fold parameters locked, reported Dr. Chen from the engineering station. Space-time corridor stabilized. awaiting final authorization. Shepard's expression remained impassive as he gave the historic order. Engage quantum fold drive. Take us to the astral system. A subtle vibration passed through the ship. Through the viewport, the stars seemed to stretch like pulled taffy, then swirl into a kaleidoscopic pattern that defied description. Marcus felt a momentary sense of disorientation as fundamental constants of physics yielded to the quantum drive's influence. Then suddenly normalcy returned. The viewport showed unfamiliar star patterns. They had arrived at their first navigational waypoint, a staging area several light years from Earth. First fold successful, Chen announced, unable to contain a note of excitement. All systems functioning within parameters. We're approximately 7 light years from Earth. Prepare for second fold sequence, Shepard ordered. Status report from all sections. As the crew busied themselves with preparations for the next phase of their journey, Marcus found himself drawn to the viewport. 7 light years from home in mere minutes, further from Earth than any human had ever traveled, and still only a fraction of the distance to their ultimate destination. To Serafina, who somehow knew his name, who waited in eternal darkness, unable to sleep alone. Over the next 3 days, Odyssey completed a series of quantum fold jumps, each bringing them closer to the astral system. Between jumps, the crew conducted system checks and collected data on the unexplored regions they passed through. For many, the scientific discoveries alone would have justified the mission even without the prospect of alien contact. Marcus spent most of his time in the communications center monitoring for any additional transmissions from Serafina. Nothing new had been detected since the message containing his name, increasing the tension as they approached their destination. During the final approach to the astral system, Marcus was summoned to a strategy meeting in the ship's conference room. Commander Shepard Crawford Warren and the other section leaders were already assembled when he arrived. Our final fold will place us at the edge of the astral system. Shepard began without preamble. Long-range scans confirmed the presence of a previously undetected star with at least one planetary body at the exact coordinates provided in the transmission. The display showed a star smaller and older than Earth's sun with 7 planets in orbit. The third planet, highlighted on the display, showed readings consistent with an Earth-like world. Preliminary data suggests the planet is habitable, Crawford continued. Atmosphere contains oxygen, nitrogen, and trace gases similar to Earth. Surface temperature averages within human tolerance range. But there's something unusual about the energy readings. The display shifted to show energy distribution across the planet's surface. Unlike Earth with its scattered points of light indicating cities, this world showed a single intense energy signature at the center of the largest continent. One location, Warren noted, no evidence of widespread habitation or technology use. Either their civilization is extremely centralized or there's almost no one left, Marcus finished the thought. Serafina said she was alone. We're proceeding with caution, Shepard declared. Initial approach will be made using conventional drives after the final quantum fold. We'll establish standard orbit and conduct comprehensive scans before considering any landing party. And if we detect the threats Serafina warned about, Kelly asked. Shepard's expression hardened. Odyssey is equipped with defensive capabilities beyond anything in Earth's conventional arsenal. If threatened, we will respond accordingly. The meeting continued with detailed discussion of approach vectors, scan parameters, and contingency plans. Marcus listened attentively, but his thoughts kept returning to the lonely signal that had brought them across 32 light-years of space. A voice calling out from the darkness, a queen without a people. The final quantum fold placed Odyssey at the outer edge of the astral system. Conventional engines engaged, beginning the days-long approach to the third planet, now designated Astral Prime in mission logs. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors revealed a world of breathtaking beauty. Vast oceans shimmered with a subtle purple hue rather than Earth's blue. Continents covered in vegetation that appeared to glow with bioluminescence, and most striking crystalline formations that rose from the largest continent, towering structures that pierced the cloud layer. Artificial or natural? Shepard questioned as the senior staff studied the imagery. Inconclusive, replied Dr. Nadari. The structures show patterns consistent with intelligent design, but the composition appears integrated with the planet's natural geology. It's as if the entire ecosystem was shaped by a guiding intelligence over evolutionary timescales. Life signs, Crawford asked. Detecting abundant plant and animal life forms, but Nadari hesitated. Only one reading that matches parameters for advanced sentient life, located within the central crystalline structure. Serafina, Marcus said softly. Possibly, Nadari conceded. But the energy signature associated with this life form is unusual. It fluctuates in patterns that don't match any known biological process. Warren frowned. Could it be some kind of technology masking as life a trap? Or a being unlike anything we've encountered, Marcus countered. We came 32 light years to make contact. We can't let fear stop us now. Shepard considered for a long moment before making his decision. We'll establish standard orbit and continue observation for 24 hours. If no hostile activity is detected, we'll send a landing party to the coordinates of the life sign. Reed, given your unique connection to this situation, you'll join the team. Thank you, Commander. Don't thank me yet, Shepard replied grimly. First contact situations have an infinite capacity for going wrong. We'll be armed and prepared for immediate extraction if necessary. As Odyssey settled into orbit around Astral Prime, the crew was granted permission to observe the alien world from the ship's observation deck. Marcus stood at the viewport, mesmerized by the planet below. After a lifetime spent searching the stars, he was looking down upon an alien world, a world that had called to him personally. It's beautiful, Kelly said, joining him at the viewport. I never imagined it would be so luminous. The entire ecosystem seems to generate light, Marcus observed. I wonder if their star was once brighter, and this evolved as an adaptation to diminishing solar radiation. A dying star and a dying civilization, Kelly mused. No wonder her message felt so desperate. Marcus was about to respond when a sharp pain lanced through his head. He gasped, clutching the railing for support as images flooded his mind. Crystal corridors gleaming with inner light, vast chambers where beings of silvery appearance moved with fluid grace. A throne room where a solitary figure sat watching the stars through a ceiling that seemed composed of living light. Marcus, Kelly's alarmed voice seemed distant. What's wrong? The visions faded as quickly as they had come, leaving Marcus disoriented but strangely exhilarated. She's reaching out, he managed. Serafina, I saw her world, her people. Memories of what once was. Kelly helped him to a seat, concern evident in her expression. You need to report this to medical. No, Marcus insisted. This is why I'm here. She's been waiting for someone who could receive her thoughts, her memories. The transmission wasn't just a message. It was a test to find a compatible mind. Before Kelly could argue further, the ship's alert system activated. Commander Shepard's voice came over the intercom. All senior personnel report to the bridge immediately. We have detected an anomaly approaching the system. On the bridge, tension was palpable as officers monitored an unidentified object approaching from beyond the system's outer boundary. The object moved at impossible speed, decelerating as it approached Astral Prime's orbit. Configuration unknown, reported the sensor officer. Size approximately 3 kilometers in length. Energy readings off the scale. Its trajectory will bring it into orbit opposite our position in approximately 2 hours. Is it the threat Serafina warned about? Crawford asked. Unknown, but its approach timing seems too coincidental, Shepard replied. Raise defensive shields and prepare countermeasures. All non-essential personnel to secure stations. Marcus studied the sensor readings, a cold certainty forming in his mind. We need to make contact with Serafina now before that thing arrives. The landing party should depart immediately. Out of the question, Shepard snapped. We're not sending anyone to the surface with a potential hostile force inbound. Commander, Marcus persisted. Serafina warned us about this threat. She's been waiting for help. If that object represents what destroyed her civilization, she may have vital information about how to defend against it. Shepard's jaw tightened. And if it's a trap, if she lured us here to face this threat for her, then we're already in the trap, Marcus pointed out. Our best chance is to gather all available intelligence. And right now, that means making contact with Serafina. Crawford intervened before the argument could escalate. Dr. Reed has a valid point, Commander. We came for first contact. That mission objective remains paramount, especially given these new developments. After tense deliberation, Shepard reluctantly authorized an expedited landing mission. The team would consist of Marcus, Kelly, Warren, Dr. Nadari, and 4 security specialists. Their objective: reach the central crystal structure, make contact with Serafina, and return to the Odyssey before the unidentified object completed its approach. As the landing shuttle prepared for departure, Marcus experienced another flash of alien imagery, this time a desperate warning. Danger. Urgency. The approaching object was something Serafina feared deeply, something that had hunted her people to near extinction. The shuttle descended through Astral Prime's atmosphere of turbulence, buffeting the small craft as it approached the massive crystalline towers that dominated the central continent. Up close, the structures were even more impressive, rising kilometers into the sky, their surfaces refracting light in hypnotic patterns. Landing zone identified, the pilot announced, clearing at the base of the central spire, touching down in 30 seconds. Marcus fastened his environmental suit, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. After a lifetime of searching the stars, he was about to set foot on an alien world and meet the being who had called to him across the void of space. The moment of truth had arrived. Whatever waited in that crystal tower, Queen Savior or Deceiver, Marcus Reed was finally about to discover why, out of all humanity, he had been chosen. The landing shuttle touched down in a clearing at the base of the towering crystal spire, its engines stirring clouds of iridescent particles that drifted like luminous snow in Astral Prime's lighter gravity. Marcus was the first to step onto the alien soil, his boots sinking slightly into ground that seemed to pulse with subtle energy. The air breathable but rich with unfamiliar scents filtered through his environmental suit's partially open visor. A calculated risk, but necessary to experience this world directly. The crystal structure before them defied architectural logic, rising seamlessly from the planet's surface as if grown rather than built. Its translucent walls shimmered with internal light that shifted in wave-like patterns, creating an effect both mesmerizing and disorienting. No visible entrance presented itself, no markings or symbols indicated a pathway inside. Incredible, Dr. Nadari whispered, her scientific detachment momentarily overwhelmed by the structure's beauty. The crystalline composition appears similar to quartz, but the molecular structure must be completely different to support this scale. Warren maintained a wary stance, his hand never straying far from his sidearm. Stay alert, we don't know what's waiting for us in there. His security team spread out, establishing a perimeter around the shuttle. Kelly approached the wall, scanning it with her instruments. I'm detecting complex energy patterns flowing through the structure, almost like neural pathways in a brain. This entire tower could be a single integrated system. Marcus felt drawn toward the crystal surface, a subtle pressure at the back of his mind urging him forward. As he approached, the wall before him began to ripple, molecules rearranging themselves to create an opening precisely sized for human passage. It's responding to you, Kelly said, her voice tinged with awe. She knows we're here, Marcus replied. She's inviting us in. Warren frowned. Could be a trap. We should deploy drones first. No, Marcus said with unexpected authority. She's waited long enough. I'm going in. Before Shepard or Crawford could countermand the decision over the comlink, Marcus stepped through the opening. The crystal wall flowed around him like liquid glass, then solidified again, creating a seamless corridor leading deeper into the structure. The others had no choice but to follow the wall parting for each of them in turn. Inside, the spire revealed itself as a vast hollow column. Looking up, Marcus could see levels upon levels, spiraling along the interior walls connected by bridges of pure light. Everything glowed with internal luminescence, casting no shadows. The air inside felt charged with potential, as if the very atmosphere held intelligence. This makes no architectural sense, Kelly whispered. These support structures couldn't possibly sustain a building of this size under normal physical laws. I'm not sure the normal laws apply here, Marcus replied, his gaze drawn upward by movement. Descending toward them on what appeared to be a platform of solidified light was a figure that could only be Seraphina. The alien queen stood over 7 feet tall, her body slender and graceful with skin that shimmered like polished silver. Her features, while humanoid in general arrangement, possessed an otherworldly beauty, eyes large and luminous, reflecting galaxies in their depths, hair that moved like liquid metal cascading down her back. She wore what appeared to be a simple robe that shimmered with changing patterns of light, as if the fabric itself responded to her thoughts. When the platform came to rest before them, Seraphina stepped forward with fluid grace. Marcus found himself unable to speak, overwhelmed by her presence. She studied him for a long moment, head tilted slightly in an almost human gesture of curiosity. Marcus Reed, she said at last. Her voice resonated directly in his mind rather than through the air, melodic and clear, carrying emotional depths beyond what spoken language could convey. You heard my call across the void. You have come. Warren tensed visibly, hand moving toward his weapon. How is she speaking English? She's not, Marcus realized. She's communicating directly with our minds. Seraphina's attention remained fixed on Marcus. Your mind was receptive where others were closed. I searched for one who could understand who knew isolation as I have known it. You carry a similar emptiness inside you. The personal insight struck Marcus deeply. Before he could respond, Dr. Nadari stepped forward, scientific curiosity overcoming her initial awe. Your Majesty, she began tentatively, we've traveled from Earth to establish peaceful contact with your civilization. Can you tell us about your people, the Astral? A profound sadness emanated from Serafina, felt by all present rather than observed. My civilization slumbers in the eternal dream. I alone remained awake, the guardian of memory and witness to our final days. She gestured upward, where thousands of crystalline pods became visible, embedded in the spire's walls. Each contained a silvery figure, suspended in glowing medium. Your people aren't dead, Kelly said, understanding dawning. They're preserved somehow. Not preserved, Serafina corrected, transcended. When our star began to fade millennia ago, my people chose to enter the collective consciousness rather than perish or abandon our world. Their bodies remain in stasis, while their minds exist together in a shared dream reality. Why didn't you join them? Marcus asked, sensing the answer before she spoke. A queen's duty is to her people. Someone needed to remain to watch over them, to seek help if it became necessary. Her gaze, ancient and knowing, held Marcus's. And it has become necessary. The harvesters have found us again. Warren's expression hardened. The object approaching this planet, that's what you call the harvesters. Serafina nodded, the movement unnervingly fluid. They consume worlds rich in the energy of consciousness. They were drawn to our dream state as they are drawn to all advanced minds. We fled across galaxies to escape them, but they are relentless. They have hunted us for millennia. What exactly are these harvesters? Dr. Nadari asked. Biological beings, machines. Neither and both. They evolve beyond physical form as we understand it. Entities of pure consciousness that require the energy of other minds to sustain themselves. Serafina's form seemed to flicker slightly, betraying a weakness beneath her regal bearing. I have held them at bay, using the planet's defensive systems, but my strength wanes. Without intervention, they will consume my people's dream and then move on, perhaps to Earth, next drawn by your emerging consciousness. The implications settled heavily over the group. Earth had no defense against a threat it couldn't comprehend, much less combat. How can we help? Marcus asked simply. Serafina's expression softened, gratitude flowing from her like a physical force. The Dream Bridge, our greatest achievement. It allows consciousness to flow between minds, transcending physical limitations. She extended her hand toward Marcus. I must show you rather than tell you. Will you trust me, Marcus Reed? Warren stepped forward. Absolutely not. We have no idea what this dream bridge might do to human physiology. It's my decision, Marcus said firmly. This is why I'm here. Dr. Reed, Warren countered, as head of security, I cannot allow. Let him choose, Kelly interrupted. That's why we came 32 light years. To make contact, to understand, not to stand at the threshold refusing to step through. Before Warren could protest further, Marcus moved towards Serafina. Show me. She led them deeper into the spire through corridors that seemed to form ahead of their steps and dissolve behind them. At the heart of the structure lay a chamber vast and circular, its ceiling opening to the stars above. In the center stood a platform of crystal that pulsed with soft blue radiance. The Dream Bridge, Serafina explained. It connects consciousness across thought and time. Through it, you can experience our history, understand the harvesters, and perhaps find a way to save both our peoples. What exactly happens to him during this process? Kelly asked, concern evident in her voice. His consciousness will temporarily join with mine. He will remain physically here, but his mind will experience our shared reality. Serafina turned to Marcus. It is not without risk. Few non-astrals have attempted such communion. What kind of risk? Warren demanded. Disorientation, difficulty returning. In rare cases, minds too rigid to adapt have been lost. Warren immediately activated his comlink. Shepard, we have a situation. Dr. Reed is about to engage in an unknown procedure with potentially lethal consequences. Request immediate. Override that, Marcus interrupted, his voice carrying unexpected authority. Commander, this is exactly the kind of first contact opportunity we came for. I'm proceeding with the Dream Bridge connection. After a tense pause, Shepard's voice came through the comm. Understood, Dr. Reed, but we're setting a time limit. You have 30 minutes. After that, we extract you, willing or not. Agreed. Marcus turned to Serafina. Let's begin. She guided him onto the crystal platform which illuminated more brightly at his presence. Clear your mind, she instructed. Do not resist what you experience. The dream bridge connects all consciousness, past, present, future, all flowing together. Marcus nodded, closing his eyes as Serafina placed her silvery hands on either side of his face. The contact felt cool at first, then warm, then something beyond temperature, a vibration that resonated through his entire being. The chamber around him dissolved. Marcus experienced a momentary sensation of falling, then expansion as if his consciousness stretched beyond the confines of his body. Suddenly, he wasn't just Marcus Reed anymore. He existed across multiple planes of awareness simultaneously. He saw Astral Prime as it had been millennia ago, a world of crystal cities and silver-skinned beings who moved with impossible grace. He felt their achievements, their art, their science that had transcended the barriers between mind and matter. He experienced their terror when the harvesters first came, vast clouds of shifting darkness that consumed consciousness itself, leaving empty husks behind. He witnessed the astrals' desperate flight across galaxies, the development of technology to hide their unique mental signature, and finally the creation of the Dream Bridge, a way to preserve their collective consciousness when their physical forms could no longer survive. And through it all, he felt Serafina's presence, her strength, her loneliness, her unimaginable sacrifice in remaining awake while her people slept in their shared dream. For thousands of years, she had stood guard, watching civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy, waiting for one evolved enough to help. The experience shifted. Marcus found himself standing with Serafina in a place that existed nowhere and everywhere, a construct of pure thought where they could communicate directly. Now you understand, she said, her true voice even more beautiful in this realm of pure consciousness. The harvesters cannot be fought with conventional weapons. They exist partly in dimensions your science has only begun to theorize about, but they can be countered. She showed him the astral's defensive system, a network of consciousness amplifiers that created a shield the harvesters couldn't penetrate. But the system requires a mind to direct it, she explained. My strength alone is no longer sufficient. You need help, Marcus said, understanding at last. You need my mind connected to yours to strengthen the defense. Yes, but there is more. Her essence seemed to dim slightly. The connection would need to be permanent, your consciousness joined with mine, to protect both our peoples. The implications crashed over Marcus. I wouldn't return to my body to Earth. Your physical form would continue, but your consciousness would remain here with me. Sorrow and regret flowed from her. It is too much to ask. I should not have... Show me what happens if I refuse, Marcus interrupted. Show me what the harvesters will do. The dreamscape changed. Marcus watched in horror as the harvesters descended upon Astral Prime, consuming the dream consciousness of the sleeping astrals. Then, following the trail of the Odyssey, they discovered Earth, a planet teeming with minds ripe for harvesting. The vision of humanity's extinction unfolded before him with terrible clarity. Enough, he whispered, and the vision faded. I am sorry, Serafina said. I sought help, not sacrifice. I would not blame you for choosing to return to your people. Marcus considered his life on Earth, the empty house, the approaching retirement, the years of isolation ahead. Then he thought of Elizabeth, gone 15 years now. What would she have wanted him to do? Before he could respond, a violent tremor shook the dreamscape. Serafina's form flickered drastically. They're here, she said, fear evident, even in this realm of pure thought. The harvesters have begun their approach. We must return you to your physical form immediately. The dream dissolved in a rush of sensation. Marcus gasped as his consciousness slammed back into his body, nearly collapsing as the crystal platform beneath him trembled. Serafina stood opposite him, her physical form noticeably dimmer, the metallic sheen of her skin dulled to a flat gray. What happened? Kelly demanded, rushing to support him. You were only connected for 5 minutes. 5 minutes? Marcus shook his head, disoriented. The experience had felt like days, weeks perhaps. The harvesters are here. We need to return to the Odyssey immediately. As if in confirmation, Warren's commune had erupted with Shepard's urgent voice. Extraction team, return to the shuttle now. Unknown object has accelerated dramatically. ETA to Astral Prime orbit is now 15 minutes. We need to move, Warren ordered, gesturing toward the exit. Wait. Marcus turned to Serafina, who seemed to be struggling to maintain her physical form. Come with us. We can take you aboard Odyssey. She shook her head slowly. I cannot leave my people. Their dream depends on my presence here. She extended her hand, revealing a crystal shard that glowed with internal light. Take this. It contains the knowledge of my people, our history, our science, the blueprints for the Dream Bridge. If I fall, this will help Earth prepare. Marcus accepted the crystal, feeling its warm pulse against his palm. There has to be another way. Let me stay connect permanently to the Dream Bridge as you showed me. No, she said firmly. Return to your ship. Study what I've given you. Perhaps your scientists can find a solution we haven't seen. Her form flickered again. Go now while you still can. Warren grabbed Marcus's arm. We're leaving. That's an order. With a final glance at Serafina, regal even as her strength faded, Marcus allowed himself to be pulled away. The return journey through the crystal spire passed in a blur, corridors forming and dissolving around them as they raced back to the shuttle. As they emerged from the structure, the sky above had darkened ominously. A shadow was spreading across Astral Prime's surface, though no physical object was visible. Just a gradual dimming of light, as if reality itself was being drained of energy. The shuttle lifted off as soon as they were aboard, accelerating with emergency thrust toward the Odyssey waiting in orbit. Marcus stared through the viewport at the crystal spire receding below its glow, already noticeably dimmer as the shadow encroached. What exactly did you experience in there? Kelly asked, her voice low enough that Warren couldn't overhear from the front of the shuttle. Everything, Marcus replied, his mind still reeling from the knowledge transfer. Their entire civilization, their science, their art. She showed me all of it. And the harvesters, they're unlike anything we've conceptualized. They don't just destroy, they consume consciousness itself. And the crystal, Marcus glanced down at the shard clutched in his hand. The collective knowledge of the astral civilization, including how to build a dream bridge. The shuttle docked with Odyssey amid flashing emergency lights. Commander Shepard met them in the hangar, his expression grim. The object has entered orbit on the far side of the planet, he reported. We're picking up energy fluctuations unlike anything in our databases. Dr. Reed, I need to know exactly what we're dealing with. As the group hurried toward the bridge, Marcus explained what he'd learned about the harvesters. Shepard listened intently, his skepticism gradually giving way to concern. You're saying these entities feed on consciousness. How do we fight something like that? Conventional weapons would be useless, Marcus confirmed. The Astrals developed a defensive shield based on amplified consciousness, essentially using mental energy to create a barrier the harvesters can't penetrate. They reached the bridge where the main view screen showed the darkening surface of Astral Prime. The crystal spires were barely visible now, their glow diminished to a faint flicker. What's happening down there? Crawford demanded. Serafina is fighting them, Marcus said, a knot forming in his throat. Alone. The unidentified object is moving, reported the sensor officer. It's changing shape, expanding. On the screen, a darkness appeared at the edge of the planet. Not a solid object, but a shifting, flowing absence of light that seemed to consume the very fabric of space. It spread across the surface like spilled ink, enveloping everything in its path. We need to help her, Marcus said urgently. How? Shepard demanded. You said conventional weapons are useless. Marcus held up the crystal shard, which pulsed with increasing urgency. This contains instructions for creating a small-scale dream bridge, a version that could be built with our technology. He turned to Kelly. With your expertise in quantum communications, we might be able to establish a link to Serafina from here. That's insane, Warren objected. We have no idea if human technology could interface with their systems, let alone in time to make a difference. We have to try, Kelly countered. She turned to Shepard. Commander requests permission to attempt building a portable dream bridge using the astral schematics. Shepard's jaw worked as he considered the unprecedented situation. How long would it take? Hours, maybe less with Dr. Chen's help, Kelly estimated. The quantum communication array could be modified. Do it, Shepard decided, but simultaneously prepare the quantum drive for emergency departure. If this situation deteriorates further, we're returning to Earth immediately. He fixed Marcus with a stern gaze. And Dr. Reed will provide a complete briefing on everything he learned about these harvesters. As Kelly hurried off with the crystal shard to begin work with Dr. Chen, Marcus felt a profound sense of helplessness. On the view screen, the darkness continued to spread across Astral Prime's surface, drawing inexorably closer to the central crystal spire where Serafina made her last stand. The following hours passed in frantic activity. Marcus divided his time between briefing Shepard and Crawford on the harvester threat and assisting Kelly and Chen with the Dream Bridge prototype. The design called for a fusion of astral crystalline technology and human quantum communications, a hybrid that had never been attempted. It's like they're speaking an entirely different scientific language, Dr. Chen complained as he struggled to translate astral engineering principles. Their understanding of quantum entanglement goes beyond our theoretical models. Focus on the implementation, not the theory, Kelly advised, her fingers flying across her console. We don't need to understand why it works, just how to build it. Meanwhile, the situation on Astral Prime deteriorated rapidly. The darkness had enveloped nearly half the planet, leaving only the region around the central spire untouched, protected by what sensors identified as an energy field emanating from the structure. Seraphina's holding them back, Marcus observed, watching the steady contraction of the safe zone. But she's losing ground. Why don't these harvesters attack us? Warren asked. If they're drawn to consciousness, we should be a target too. They're focused on the more abundant source. Thousands of astrals in their dream state, Marcus explained. We're just a few dozen minds by comparison. But once they're done with Astral Prime, he didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone understood the implication Earth would be next. 4 hours after their return to Odyssey, Kelly summoned Marcus to the quantum communications lab. There, a makeshift apparatus stood on the central table, a hybrid of Odyssey's advanced technology and crystalline components grown using methods from the astral schematics. It's crude compared to their version, Kelly admitted, but it should establish a temporary connection. The range will be limited and the connection unstable, but it's the best we could do with the time and materials available. Will it allow communication with Seraphina? Marcus asked. In theory, but someone needs to serve as the focal point, the human consciousness that bridges to hers. She met his gaze steadily. It would have to be you, Marcus. You're already partially attuned to her through your previous connection. Marcus nodded, having expected this. How dangerous is it? We don't know, Dr. Chen admitted. The integration of our technology with theirs is unprecedented. Best case, you establish communication and help Seraphina boost her defenses. Worst case, he hesitated. Worst case, my consciousness gets caught between here and there, Marcus finished for him, or gets consumed by the harvesters in the attempt. Essentially, yes. Marcus glanced at the view screen showing Astral Prime. The protected zone had shrunk to a small area around the central spire. Seraphina's time was running out. Let's do it, he said simply. Word of the attempt quickly spread through the ship. Commander Shepard arrived to observe along with Crawford and Warren. The security chief remained skeptical. This is an unacceptable risk, he argued. We should be preparing for emergency departure, not experimenting with alien technology we barely understand. If the harvesters consume Astral Prime, Earth will be their next target, Marcus countered. Running won't save humanity. Shepard studied the makeshift dream bridge, then Marcus. You understand what you're volunteering for? There's no guarantee we can bring you back if something goes wrong. I understand, Marcus confirmed, but someone needs to try. After a moment, Shepard nodded. Proceed. But at the first sign that the harvesters are turning their attention to the ship, we're terminating the connection and departing, with or without you fully recovered. Fair enough? Marcus positioned himself on the chair. Kelly had prepared electrodes attached to his temples, connecting to the hybrid apparatus. The crystalline components pulsed with increasing brightness as the system powered up. The interface is stable, Kelly reported, monitoring the readings. Quantum entanglement established with the planet's surface. Ready when you are, Marcus. He took a deep breath, focusing his thoughts as Seraphina had taught him. Activate the bridge. Kelly initiated the sequence. The crystal components flared with brilliant light, and Marcus felt the now familiar sensation of his consciousness while expanding beyond his physical form. The ship around him faded as his mind stretched across space, seeking the familiar presence of Seraphina. He found her at the heart of the crystal spire, her form now barely substantial, her once brilliant silver skin dulled to ashen gray. Around her, the last protective barrier flickered weakly against the pressing darkness of the harvesters. Marcus, she acknowledged, surprise and hope mingling in her mental voice. You created a dream bridge. A crude version, he admitted, but enough to reach you. Seraphina, we want to help. Tell me what to do. Her consciousness touched his, sharing knowledge and instruction in an instant. Your mind is strong, different from ours, but compatible. Join your consciousness with mine, help me reinforce the barrier. Marcus followed her guidance, allowing his mind to merge partially with hers. The sensation was overwhelming. Seraphina's consciousness was vast, ancient, holding the collective memory of an entire civilization. Through her, he sensed the sleeping minds of thousands of astrals existing in their shared dream reality, unaware of the danger pressing in from outside. And beyond the barrier, he perceived the harvesters for the first time with full awareness. They weren't entities as he had understood the concept, but voids, absences that consumed consciousness itself, leaving nothingness in their wake. Their hunger was limitless, their patience eternal. They had pursued the astrals across countless light years, drawn by the rich feast of their collective dream. Together, Marcus and Seraphina pushed back against the encroaching void. He felt his mental strength flowing through her, reinforcing the barrier. For a moment, the darkness receded slightly. But the effort was exhausting. Marcus felt his grasp on his own identity beginning to slip as the connection with Seraphina deepened. Part of him wanted to let go completely to join with her in defending the sleeping astrals. Another part clung desperately to his humanity, to the memories that made him Marcus Reed. "It's not enough," Seraphina's voice came tinged with sorrow. "Two minds alone cannot hold them back indefinitely. The barrier will fail." "What about waking your people?" Marcus suggested. "With all of them conscious fighting together?" "Impossible. The awakening process requires energy we no longer have, and many have been in the dream so long they might not survive the transition back to individual consciousness." A new idea formed in Marcus's mind, radical, perhaps impossible, but worth attempting. What if we brought the dream bridge to Earth, connected your people's dream to human consciousness? Surprise rippled through Seraphina's presence. A bridge between species, it has never been attempted on such a scale. But it could work theoretically. Perhaps. If enough humans participated willingly, their combined consciousness might strengthen the astrals enough to repel the harvesters permanently. Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Then that's what we'll do. Hold on a little longer, Seraphina. I'm going back to explain the plan." "Hurry, Marcus Reed. The barrier weakens with each moment." With tremendous effort, Marcus pulled his consciousness back across the dream bridge. Awareness of his physical body returned in a rush of sensation. The cold metal of the chair beneath him, the concerned faces of his colleagues gathered around the subtle vibration of Odyssey's systems. "He's back," Kelly announced, relief evident in her voice. Marcus struggled to focus, his mind still partly attuned to Seraphina. "We need to take the Dream Bridge technology to Earth," he managed. "Connect human volunteers to the astral dream." "What?" Warren looked incredulous. "You want to connect human minds to alien consciousness?" "It's the only way," Marcus insisted, stronger now. "Seraphina can't hold the harvesters back much longer. But with human consciousness linked to the astrals, there might be enough combined mental energy to drive the harvesters away permanently." Commander Shepard's expression was grave. "You're talking about an unprecedented risk to humanity. What if these harvesters follow the connection back to Earth?" "They already know where Earth is," Marcus countered. "They'll come for us next regardless. This way at least we have a chance to fight them." Dr. Crawford studied him thoughtfully. "And you believe enough humans would volunteer for this connection?" "Yes," Marcus said with conviction. "When faced with extinction, people will rise to the challenge." A violent tremor shook the ship, throwing several officers off balance. The view screen showed a surge of darkness around Astral Prime, with only the faintest glow remaining at the central spire. "The barrier is failing," Marcus said urgently. "We need to act now. Commander, we must retrieve Seraphina and as many of the dreaming astrals as possible, then make for Earth immediately." Shepard hesitated only briefly before decision hardened his features. "Prepare a rescue shuttle. Dr. Reed, you'll guide the team to Seraphina's location. Dr. Chen, gather everything you need to replicate the Dream Bridge technology on Earth." "Sir," Warren protested, "the risk is..." "Noted and accepted." Shepard cut him off. "Sometimes the only way to eliminate a risk is to face it directly. Prepare for emergency departure once the rescue team returns." As the bridge erupted into activity, Marcus felt a wave of exhaustion threaten to overwhelm him. The Dream Bridge connection had drained him physically and mentally, but there was no time to rest. Somewhere in that fading crystal spire, Seraphina was fighting a losing battle against an enemy that threatened both their civilizations. The fate of two worlds now hung in the balance, and the next few hours would determine whether humanity would face the harvesters alone, or with ancient allies who had already survived their first assault. Marcus gazed at the diminishing light on Astral Prime's surface and made a silent promise to Seraphina. He would return, and this time he wouldn't leave without her. The rescue shuttle plunged through Astral Prime's atmosphere, buffeted by disturbances unlike any natural weather pattern. Outside the viewport, darkness roiled and churned. Not the absence of light, but something that actively consumed it. Marcus felt the chill of the harvester's presence, even through the shuttle's reinforced hull. Energy readings off of the scale, reported the pilot, a seasoned veteran whose voice betrayed the slightest tremor. I've never seen anything like this. Stay on course, Marcus instructed. Head for the central spire. It's the only area still protected. The shuttle broke through the turbulence into a sphere of relative calm surrounding the crystal tower. What had been a magnificent structure gleaming with internal light now stood dim and faded like a once brilliant star in its dying moments. Only the central chamber at its peak still pulsed with energy, Seraphina's last stand against the encroaching void. Landing zone compromised, announced the pilot as they approached. The ground around the structure appears unstable. Through the viewport, Marcus saw the once solid terrain surrounding the spire had become strangely fluid, rippling and distorting, as if reality itself was breaking down under the harvester's assault. The shuttle would never find purchase there. Hover as close to the upper chamber as possible, Marcus ordered. We'll have to rappel in. Warren, leading the extraction team, nodded grimly. This just keeps getting better. Despite his sarcasm, the security chief moved with practiced efficiency, distributing harnesses and securing rappelling lines. The years of military training evident in every gesture. The shuttle positioned itself adjacent to what appeared to be an opening near the spire's apex. Through it, Marcus could see flashes of silver-blue light, Seraphina's consciousness barrier fighting against the darkness. Time to move, Warren announced. Reed, you're with me. Team 2, secure the shuttle. Be ready for immediate extraction on my mark. Marcus secured his harness, checked his oxygen supply, and followed Warren to the shuttle's side hatch. When it opened, the vacuum of the harvester's influence tried to pull them out. Not a physical wind, but a strange, attenuating force that seemed to tug at their very essence. What the hell is that? Warren gasped, gripping the doorframe. They're feeding, Marcus replied grimly. Stay focused on who you are, what you're doing. Don't let your thoughts drift. Together they rappelled from the shuttle to the crystal spire, each movement requiring concentrated effort against the strange resistance. The crystal surface, once smooth and impenetrable, now felt brittle beneath their boots, fracturing slightly with each step. They entered through an opening that seemed to recognize Marcus, widening just enough to admit the rescue team. Inside, the deterioration was even more apparent. The elegant architecture was failing support structures, crumbling bridges of light flickering erratically. The thousands of stasis pods containing the sleeping astrals were going dark one by one as their power failed. We're losing them, Marcus realized. The entire civilization. Focus on the mission, Warren reminded him sharply. We find the Queen, extract her, and leave. That's our priority. They made their way upward through the disintegrating structure toward the central chamber where Marcus had experienced the dream bridge. Gravity itself seemed compromised, forcing them to activate the magnetic locks in their boots to maintain contact with the surfaces. Twice they had to backtrack as passages collapsed ahead of them. When they finally reached the central chamber, the sight that greeted them would haunt Marcus for the rest of his life. Seraphina stood at the center of the dream bridge platform, her once magnificent form now painfully diminished. Her silver skin had faded to ashen gray, her luminous eyes dimmed to dull embers. Around her, a hemisphere of silver-blue energy pulsed weakly against the pressing darkness that had breached the chamber's walls. With each pulse, her form seemed to flicker, as if her very existence was being spent to maintain the barrier. Seraphina, Marcus called out, his voice sounding strangely muffled in the chamber. Her head turned slowly, recognition dawning in her faded eyes. Marcus Reed, you returned. Her voice in his mind was faint, distant. We're here to get you out. The Odyssey can take you to Earth. A sad smile touched her lips. My physical form is nearly depleted. I have given almost everything to maintain the barrier. Warren stepped forward. Your Majesty, we don't have much time. The shuttle can't hold position for long in these conditions. Seraphina's gaze shifted to the stasis pods visible through the chamber's transparent walls. Thousands of her people, their dream state increasingly vulnerable as the protective systems failed. I cannot abandon them. We can bring us some with us, Marcus offered desperately. The nearest pods? No. Her decision carried the weight of millennia of rulership. The awakening process is too dangerous in these conditions, and the dream cannot be fragmented. All must come or none. Then we bring the entire Dream Bridge technology to Earth, Marcus insisted. We connect it to human consciousness, as I suggested. Seraphina was silent for a long moment, her ancient eyes studying him with an intensity that seemed to peer into his very soul. You would risk your species for mine, after knowing us so briefly. We risk our species for both of ours, Marcus corrected. The harvesters will follow us to Earth regardless. At least this way we have allies who understand the enemy. A violent tremor shook the chamber, sending crystalline fragments cascading from the ceiling. The barrier around Serafina contracted, visibly, darkness seeping through new breaches. We're out of time, Warren barked into his comm unit. Shuttle team, prepare for immediate extraction. We'll have 2, possibly 3 for transport. The Dream Core, Serafina said suddenly, gesturing toward a pulsing, crystalline structure beneath the platform. It contains the complete consciousness matrix of my people, their shared dream reality. If it can be preserved and reactivated on Earth. That's our target, Marcus said to Warren. We take the Queen and the Dream Core. Warren assessed the crystalline structure with a professional eye. It's too large for the shuttle's cargo bay. It can be compressed, Serafina explained, her form flickering more frequently now. But the process requires consciousness guidance, mine, and I lack the strength remaining. Marcus understood immediately. The Dream Bridge. If I connect with you again, my consciousness could help stabilize the compression process. No way, Warren objected. Last time you connected, you were nearly lost. We don't have time for... It's the only way to save both civilizations, Marcus interrupted. Prepare the Dream Core for transport. I'm doing this. Before Warren could protest further, Marcus stepped onto the platform beside Serafina. Her silver hands, now almost translucent, reached for his temples. The connection formed instantly, far stronger than before, as if her weakened state had removed barriers between them. Marcus felt himself falling into Serafina's consciousness, merging with her ancient mind more completely than during their first sharing. Through her awareness, he could sense the Dream Core, a complex, multi-dimensional matrix containing thousands of interconnected astral minds, all existing together in a reality of their own creation. Beautiful and intricate, beyond human comprehension, yet now terrifyingly fragile as the harvesters pressed in from all sides. Together, their merged consciousness began the compression process, carefully folding the vast matrix into a more compact form without disrupting the delicate connections between minds. It was like trying to fold an entire universe without tearing the fabric of reality, requiring precision beyond anything Marcus had ever attempted. From a distance, he heard Warren's voice. 2 minutes until structural failure. We need to move now. The compression accelerated, guided by Serafina's knowledge and powered by Marcus's fresh mental energy. The Dream Core contracted crystalline elements, reconfiguring themselves into a more compact arrangement while maintaining their complex internal relationships. As they worked, Marcus became aware of a third presence within their joined consciousness, a dark, hungry void pressing against Serafina's weakening barriers. The harvesters had sensed their activity and were focusing their attention on the Dream Core, recognizing it as the richest source of consciousness energy. They know what we're doing, Marcus communicated to Serafina. They're targeting the compression process specifically. Yes, her thought voice acknowledged. I cannot maintain the barrier and complete the compression simultaneously. An impossible choice loomed. Abandon the compression to reinforce the barrier, likely dooming the Dream Core and the thousands of consciousnesses it contained, or complete the compression while allowing the harvesters closer access. Marcus made his decision without hesitation. Focus on the compression. I'll hold the barrier. Your mind is not trained for such a task, Serafina protested. The strain could destroy you. We have no alternative, Marcus replied, already diverting his mental energy to reinforce the failing barrier. Complete the compression. He felt Serafina's gratitude as she withdrew her attention from the barrier, focusing entirely on the Dream Core's compression. The full weight of the harvester's assault fell on Marcus's unprepared consciousness, a pressure beyond physical understanding, as if every negative thought, every fear, every doubt he had ever experienced was being amplified 1,000-fold. The barrier began to fail under the onslaught. Marcus fought desperately, drawing on every reserve of mental strength, every memory of purpose and determination from his long life. He thought of Elizabeth, of their years together, of her courage facing her final illness. He thought of his military service, the comrades who had depended on him in moments of crisis. He thought of Earth, vulnerable and unaware of the threat approaching. And he thought of Serafina, alone for millennia, standing guard over her people's dream, never abandoning her duty despite unimaginable isolation. Her strength became his inspiration, her sacrifice his model. Distantly, he heard Warren shouting, core compression at 80%, structural integrity at 15%. We're almost out of time. Marcus poured everything he had into the barrier, knowing he was approaching the limits of human endurance. Dark tendrils of the harvester's influence began to seep through, reaching for his consciousness, offering relief from the strain if he would only surrender, only stop resisting, only allow them the smallest taste of his mind. It is done. Seraphina's voice cut through his fading awareness. The dream core is compressed and stable. Marcus felt himself being pulled back. Seraphina's remaining strength used to sever their connection before the harvesters could follow. He slammed back into his physical body with shocking force, gasping and disoriented. Warren was supporting his weight, dragging him toward the chamber exit, where two team members carried a container holding what looked like a perfect crystal sphere, the compressed dream core. Move, Warren ordered. The whole structure is coming down. Marcus turned to Seraphina, still standing on the platform, her form now barely substantial. Come with us, he pleaded. I cannot, she replied, her voice in his mind growing fainter. My physical form is too degraded for transport, and I must remain to cover your escape. No. Marcus struggled against Warren's grip. We're not leaving you. A queen's duty is to her people, Seraphina reminded him gently. I have fulfilled that duty by ensuring their dream continues. Now go take them to safety. The chamber shuddered violently, massive cracks appearing in the walls. The darkness pressed closer, flowing through the breaches like living ink. Reed, we have to go now, Warren insisted. The shuttle can't hold position much longer. With a final look at Seraphina, regal even in her diminishment, a queen to the last, Marcus allowed himself to be pulled away. As they retreated, her voice touched his mind one final time. Find me in the dream, Marcus Reed. They ran through collapsing corridors, Warren practically carrying Marcus, whose strength had been depleted by the mental battle. The extraction team moved with disciplined precision, the dream core secured in its specialized container. Twice they had to find alternative routes as passages collapsed ahead of them. The shuttle was waiting, hovering precariously as the very air around it seemed to distort with the harvester's influence. They boarded under emergency conditions, the pilot already initiating departure sequences before the hatch fully sealed. Through the viewport, Marcus watched as the crystal spire began to collapse, its magnificent structure falling away in sections as the darkness consumed it. At its heart, a final flash of silver-blue light pulsed outward, Seraphina's last stand buying them precious seconds to escape. Go, Marcus whispered. Go now. The shuttle rocketed upward, fighting against the strange attenuating force that seemed to drag at them. The pilot pushed the engines beyond safety tolerances, the entire craft shuddering with the strain. Behind them, the surface of Astral Prime disappeared beneath a rolling wave of darkness. Odyssey, this is extraction team, Warren transmitted. Target partially secured. Queen Seraphina remained behind. Dream core retrieved. Request immediate recovery in quantum jump preparation. The Odyssey's docking bay was already open as they approached emergency crews standing by. The moment the shuttle touched down, the ship's engines began powering up for departure. Quantum fold drive initiating in 3 minutes, came Commander Shepard's voice over the intercom. All personnel secure for emergency departure. Marcus was helped to the medical bay, his body showing signs of extreme exhaustion and stress. Dr. Nadari administered stimulants to keep him conscious. They would need his knowledge of the dream core during their return journey. The Queen, she asked quietly. Gone, Marcus replied, his voice hollow with grief and fatigue. She sacrificed herself to cover our escape. From the medical bay viewport, he watched as the darkness that had consumed Astral Prime began to coalesce, forming what almost appeared to be a massive reaching hand stretching toward the Odyssey. The harvesters had sensed the Dream Core's departure and were mobilizing to pursue. The ship shuddered as the quantum fold drive engaged. Stars stretched into lines, then swirled into the familiar kaleidoscope pattern of space-time distortion. The reaching darkness disappeared as they entered the quantum corridor, escaping for the moment from the harvester's grasp. But Marcus knew the respite was temporary. The harvesters had found them once. They would do so again. The race back to Earth to implement the Dream Bridge technology before they arrived had begun. The journey back to Earth passed in a blur of activity. Marcus spent much of it in the laboratory with Kelly, Dr. Chen, and a team of specialists working to understand and preserve the Dream Core. The compressed sphere pulsed with subtle energy, the thousands of astral minds within continuing their shared dream, unaware of the destruction of their physical world or the sacrifice of their queen. It's remarkable, Dr. Chen commented, studying the readings from their instruments. The entire matrix is self-sustaining, drawing minimal power from its environment. These minds have been dreaming together for millennia, creating and experiencing an entire reality of their own design. Can we communicate with them? Kelly asked. Marcus shook his head. Not directly. Serafina was their anchor to the physical world, their connection point. Without her, he trailed off the loss still raw. But she compressed the core so it could be reactivated on Earth, Kelly reminded him. That means there must be a way to establish a new connection. The Dream Bridge, Marcus confirmed. If we can build a version compatible with human physiology, we might be able to connect volunteer human minds to the astral dream, strengthening it and creating a defensive network against the harvesters. The challenge was monumental. They had less than 4 months before the Odyssey reached Earth, assuming the harvesters didn't find a way to track them through quantum space and intercept them sooner. In that time, they needed to adapt alien technology beyond human understanding into a form that could safely interface with human consciousness. Shepard maintained a demanding schedule, driving the research team with the grim determination of a commander who knew the stakes of failure. Daily briefings became strategy sessions as they developed plans for Earth's defense against an enemy conventional weapons couldn't touch. The President and Joint Chiefs have been briefed, he informed the senior staff 2 months into their journey. Based on our reports, they're preparing for a Level 1 planetary emergency. The Defense Department is converting facilities to house Dreambridge terminals, and a global call for volunteers is being drafted. They believed us, Warren asked, skepticism evident in his voice, about consciousness-eating void entities. The quantum communication array managed to transmit some of our sensor data, Crawford explained. Seeing evidence of Astral Prime's destruction was convincing. Marcus spent his limited off-duty hours in the ship's observation lounge, staring out at the quantum corridors surrounding them. His mind repeatedly returned to Serafina, her ancient wisdom, her unimaginable sacrifice, her final words, "Find me in the dream." What had she meant? Was it possible her consciousness had somehow survived, incorporated into the dream core along with her people? Kelly found him there one night lost in thought. "You miss her," she observed, taking the seat beside him. Marcus didn't deny it. "We shared consciousness. It creates a connection beyond anything in human experience." He smiled faintly. She carried the memories of 50,000 years, Kelly. The things she had seen, the knowledge she possessed. And now it's gone. Maybe not entirely, Kelly suggested. The dream core contains the collective consciousness of her entire civilization. And you shared in that, however briefly. Perhaps something of Serafina remains there waiting. Perhaps, Marcus agreed, though doubt clouded his voice. But without her physical form anchoring her individual consciousness to reality. Don't underestimate the power of consciousness, Kelly said. Isn't that what this entire situation has taught us, that mind is more fundamental than matter? Her words stayed with Marcus through the remaining weeks of their journey. As Earth appeared on their view screens, a blue jewel against the blackness of space, he found himself both hopeful and terrified. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, and he would be at the center of that struggle. The Odyssey's arrival was met with unprecedented security measures. The ship docked at a specially constructed orbital facility where the Dream Core would be studied and the first full-scale human-compatible Dream Bridge constructed. Teams of Earth's most brilliant scientists and engineers had been assembled ready to work with the Odyssey's crew to implement the alien technology. Marcus stood in the orbital facility's observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath them. Somewhere down there in every major population center, facilities were being prepared to house Dreambridge terminals, places where volunteer humans could connect their consciousness to the astral dream, creating a global network of minds that might be strong enough to repel the harvesters when they inevitably arrived. Dr. Crawford joined him, looking uncharacteristically weary. "The first prototype is ready," she informed him. "We've incorporated everything we learned from the ship's version. If it works, we can begin mass production immediately. And if it doesn't," she didn't answer, but her expression spoke volumes. Without the dream, Bridge Earth had no defense against the harvesters. Conventional weapons, even nuclear arsenals, would be useless against entities that existed partly in dimensions beyond physical reach. "There's something else," Crawford added, her tone careful. "The prototype needs a test subject, someone already attuned to the astral consciousness." Marcus nodded slowly. "Me. Your mind has already connected successfully twice. You understand what to expect, how to navigate their dream reality." She hesitated. "But I won't order this, Marcus. After what you experienced with Serafina, the strain on your consciousness, I'll do it, he interrupted. I was always going to be the first. I made a promise. The prototype Dream Bridge was housed in a specialized chamber at the heart of the orbital facility. Unlike Serafina's elegant crystal platform, this version was a hybrid of human and astral technology. A reclined chair surrounded by an array of quantum field generators and crystalline components grown from samples taken from the Dream Core. A team of technicians made final adjustments as Marcus was prepared for the connection. Electrodes were attached to his temples, his vital signs carefully monitored. The Dream Core itself was housed in a secure chamber adjacent to the testing area, its pulsing energy visible through a reinforced viewport. Remember, this is just a test of the interface, Kelly cautioned as she helped him into the chair. A brief connection to verify compatibility, nothing more, 20 minutes maximum. Marcus nodded, but inwardly he had other plans. If Serafina had somehow survived within the collective dream, he intended to find her regardless of how long it took. Initiating Dream Bridge sequence, announced the lead technician. Quantum field stabilizing, neural interface active in 3, 2, 1. The familiar sensation washed over Marcus. The expansion of consciousness beyond physical limits, the momentary disorientation as his mind stretched across dimensional boundaries. But this time the transition felt rougher, less controlled than when Serafina had guided him. He found himself in a strange intermediate space, neither physical reality nor the full dream state of the astrals, a liminal realm where fragments of consciousness drifted like islands in a vast sea. The collective dream was there, he could sense it, but it remained tantalizingly out of reach, as if a barrier existed between his mind and the astral consciousness. Serafina, he called out with his thoughts. I've brought your people to safety. Help me reach them. No direct response came, but he felt a subtle shift in the mental environment around him, a softening of the barrier. He pushed gently against it with his consciousness, seeking entry to the shared dream beyond. Gradually the barrier thinned, allowing glimpses of the world beyond, a realm of impossible beauty where thought manifested as reality and thousands of astral minds created together. Cities of crystal and light forests that sang with consciousness, oceans of flowing thought substance. The civilization continued its existence, unaware that their physical world had been destroyed, that they now existed solely as consciousness preserved in the dream core. Marcus searched this vast dreamscape, calling for Serafina, following intuitive pathways through the collective consciousness. Time had no meaning here. What might have been minutes in the physical world felt like days of searching. Finally, at what it seemed the very heart of the dream, he found a familiar presence, diminished, fragmented, but unmistakably Serafina. Not the queen in her full glory, but something more ephemeral, a consciousness holding on to its individuality by the slenderest of threads against the pull of the collective. Marcus Reed, her thought voice came barely a whisper in the vastness. You found me. I promised I would, he replied. Your people are safe. We've brought the dream core to Earth. We're building dream bridges to connect human consciousness, to strengthen the dream against the harvesters. Her presence seemed to strengthen slightly at this news. You have done what seemed impossible. But I am fading, Marcus. Without my physical form, my individual consciousness cannot maintain itself indefinitely within the collective. There must be a way, Marcus insisted. The Dream Bridge technology could provide an anchor, she acknowledged, but it would require a physical consciousness willing to share its mind space permanently, a host for my fading self. The implication was clear. For Serafina to survive as an individual, she would need to join with a human consciousness in the physical world, a melding of minds that would forever change both. Before Marcus could respond, he felt a violent pulling sensation. In the physical world, the technicians were terminating the connection the 20-minute limit reached. His consciousness was being dragged back to his body despite his resistance. Wait, he called out to Serafina as her presence began to recede. I'll come back. I'll find a way. Hurry, Marcus Reed, came her fading reply. The harvesters follow the dream. They are coming. He returned to his physical body with a gasp, sitting upright in the Dream Bridge chair as technicians rushed to remove the electrodes. Kelly was beside him, immediately concern evident in her expression. What happened? Your readings went wild. We almost lost monitoring capability. I found her, Marcus said, his voice hoarse with emotion. Serafina. She's still there holding on within the collective dream. But she's fading. Without a physical anchor, she can't maintain her individual consciousness. Crawford approached, having observed the entire process. You were only connected for 20 minutes. How could you possibly have searched an entire dreamscape in that time? Time works differently there, Marcus explained, and I think she was helping me find her, guiding me somehow. He fixed Crawford with an intense gaze. We need to establish a permanent connection immediately. The harvesters are tracking the dream core. They're coming. Alarm spread through the monitoring team. Crawford activated her comm unit. Alert Commander Shepard, Priority 1 status. Begin full Dream Bridge deployment. In the days that followed, humanity faced the truth of its situation with remarkable resilience. The global call for volunteers was met with overwhelming response. Millions willing to connect their minds to the astral dream to join an unprecedented mental defense network against an enemy they could barely comprehend. Dream Bridge terminals were installed in secured facilities across the planet, each connected to the central dream core in the orbital station. Marcus worked tirelessly alongside Kelly and Dr. Chen, refining the interface to make it safer and more stable for human minds. But he had a personal mission as well. Each night after his official duties ended, he would connect to the Dream Bridge in a private session, journeying into the collective consciousness to find Serafina. With each visit, he found her presence dimmer, her individual identity dissolving gradually into the greater dream. There's so little time left, she told him during one such visit. My memories, myself, they're becoming part of the collective. I won't let that happen, Marcus promised. I'm working on a solution. And he was. With Kelly's help, he had been developing a modified Dream Bridge interface, one designed not just for temporary connection, but for permanent consciousness sharing. A human mind anchored in physical reality joined with an astral consciousness that existed only in the dream state. The risks are enormous, Kelly warned as they finalized the modifications. This goes beyond anything we've attempted. Two minds sharing one physical brain. There's no way to know if human physiology can sustain such a connection. It's my choice, Marcus replied simply. I've lived my life, Kelly, 67 years, most of them in service. If this last service can save Serafina and help defend Earth, he left the thought unfinished. The defensive network grew stronger daily as more humans connected to the Dream Bridge, their minds joining temporarily with the astral collective. Early volunteers reported extraordinary experiences. Consciousness expanded beyond normal human limits, access to knowledge and perspectives beyond imagination, a sense of connection transcending physical boundaries. But Marcus knew these temporary connections, however numerous, wouldn't be enough against the full force of the harvesters. They needed Serafina's ancient knowledge, her experience fighting these entities across millennia of space. They needed her to guide humanity's defense when the harvesters finally arrived. 16 days after the Odyssey's return to Earth, long-range sensors detected the approaching darkness. A void moving through space at impossible speed, consuming light and energy in its path. The harvesters had found them exactly as Serafina had warned. With Earth's governments informed and planetary defenses, however likely futile, activated, Marcus made his final preparation. He had received reluctant authorization for his plan after Commander Shepard personally intervened with the Oversight Committee. You understand there's no going back from this, Shepard said, as they stood before the modified Dream Bridge. If it works, you won't be entirely yourself anymore. If it fails, I understand, Marcus confirmed, but someone has to try, and I'm already connected to her. Kelly embraced him one last time. Good luck, old man, she whispered, eyes bright with unshed tears. Find your queen. Marcus settled into the Dream Bridge chair, electrodes and neural interfaces attached with greater precision than ever before. The modified system would create a permanent quantum entanglement between his physical brain and Serafina's consciousness within the dream core. Two minds sharing one physical anchor to reality. Initiating final Dream Bridge sequence, Kelly announced, her professional tone belied by the tremor in her voice. Neural mapping active, quantum entanglement establishing. Marcus closed his eyes as the familiar sensation of consciousness expansion began. But this time it felt different. Deeper, more fundamental, as if the very structure of his mind was being reconfigured to accommodate another presence. He found himself once more in the heart of the astral dream, where Serafina's fading consciousness clung to the last fragments of her individual identity. She seemed surprised to sense his presence. Marcus, you've returned. Her thought voice was barely perceptible now, mere echoes in the vastness of the collective. I've come to bring you back, he told her. I've created a way for you to maintain your individual consciousness, joined with mine, anchored to physical reality. Understanding flowed between them faster than words could convey. You would share your mind, your very self. The merging would be irreversible. I know, Marcus replied, but Earth needs your knowledge to fight the harvesters. And I couldn't bear to let you fade away. Gratitude and something deeper flowed from her fading presence. Then let it be so, Marcus Reed. Two consciousnesses, one shared existence. The merging began slowly, a gradual interpenetration of minds. Marcus felt memories not his own flowing into his awareness. The rise and fall of the astral civilization across 50,000 years, the terror of the first harvester, attacks the desperate flight across galaxies, the long loneliness of Seraphina's vigil. And in return, he shared his own life, childhood on Earth, military service, marriage to Elizabeth, the years of isolation after her death, the moment he first heard Seraphina's call across the void. Two lifetimes, two perspectives merging into something new, neither fully Marcus nor fully Seraphina, but a shared consciousness greater than either alone. With the merging came understanding beyond what either had possessed individually, insights into the harvester's nature, weaknesses they had never recognized before. In the physical world, Marcus's body convulsed once, then stabilized. His vital signs fluctuated wildly before settling into a new pattern. Brain activity unlike anything the monitoring systems had been designed to measure. When his eyes opened, those watching knew immediately that something profound had changed. The eyes that looked out at them held wisdom and awareness beyond human experience, twin galaxies reflected in their depths. "It worked," said the being that was now both Marcus and Seraphina, their voice carrying subtle harmonic qualities never present in Marcus's speech before. "We are joined." As if in response to this transformation, alarms blared throughout the facility. On view screens across the station, sensors showed the harvesters entering the outer solar system, their darkness consuming Pluto's distant light as they passed. The final battle for Earth's consciousness was about to begin. Humanity would face its greatest challenge, united with ancient allies, guided by a being who was both human and alien, both scientist and queen, both soldier and guardian. Marcus Seraphina rose from the Dream Bridge chair, their movements carrying a new grace born of two different species' muscle memories blended together. They looked out at the stars, at the approaching darkness that threatened all conscious life, and felt not fear but determination. For the first time, the harvesters would face opponents who truly understood them, who knew their hunger, their methods, their weaknesses. "Activate all Dream Bridge terminals," they ordered. "Connect every volunteer." The harvesters feed on isolated minds, but they cannot consume a unified consciousness. As humanity prepared for an unprecedented battle beyond the physical realm, Marcus and Seraphina, now one being with two lifetimes of experience, stood ready to lead them. Together they would face the darkness that had pursued the astrals across galaxies that now threatened Earth. Together they would dream a new future for both their peoples.